Tracy is the co-founder and CEO of RapidTrials, which revolutionized the clinical trial processes, making it more efficient and patient-centered. In 2017, under Tracy's leadership, a key component of the company's intellectual property was sold to the firm Medidata. Tracy continues in her leadership role over RapidTrials today and as an advocate for ethical and effective clinical trials, contributing numerous journal articles and working with some of America's most important medical and healthcare institutions, including the National Institutes of Health and the National Academies of Medicine. In my new book, we highlight what we call the 5 C's for sustained growth through innovation. You gave us some great advice in the book on all of those principles, including a customer-first recommendation that I'd like to highlight because it's very fundamental to customer research. You recommend listen carefully and don't rush to judgment. So can you elaborate for us on why that's important and how you've seen it come into play?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, Lorraine. It's a pleasure and honor to be able to talk about not only what I've done, but the innovation and the strategies that you're sharing with your audience. So thank you. When it comes to listening to customer, I guess sometimes you learn through mistakes that you've made on your own. You get very excited about your innovation, and sometimes in that enthusiasm, you might use terminology that resonates with the innovation and the buzzwords and the lingo. But it doesn't always resonate with your customers. I can speak more specifically about my experience with the pharmaceutical services segment. And a good example would be like decentralized clinical trials, for example. That is a very common buzzword, but unfortunately, it might not be very meaningful in introducing your innovation in that space to your clients. So the first suggestion I have is to make sure you're communicating and using language that really is descriptive of what your innovation can do for your customer, not necessarily the hottest buzzword or phrase being used in the industry as a catch-all for many things, because you'll lose people right away if they think it's another one of these catch-all phrases without a real concrete benefit or solution.
Well said, Tracy, and terrific advice that our listeners will be able to apply. Tracy, I'd also like to highlight, so the title of my book is No Fear, No Failure. And you've got some advice that is counterintuitive. I love counterintuitive advice. And in this case, it makes a lot of sense. So break this down for us, because this is really very fundamental for our listeners to understand. You say you might find success in failure. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
So I think when you're launching, and this is particularly if you're launching a new innovation or a new service, everybody is looking at the market size and the TAM, and they're going after the biggest players and the biggest customers with the biggest need. And while ultimately that could get a lot of accolades and attention if you were able to land that account, they're also the hardest accounts, I think, to secure. So what I mean by there can be success and failure is the biggest opportunities to enter a new market are often with struggling or projects that are in crisis. So those are often the leaders within an organization that are looking for creative solutions. So I have found not only for my own business, for clients of ours that are looking to introduce a new service, whether it be AI or new methodology, is to look for projects that are in crisis or troubled or behind in delivering on expectations, because I tend to find those teams and leaders are most likely and most receptive to new innovations and new ideas.
And that's really terrific advice as well, because it gets us back to the fundamentals of solving a problem for a customer. And so your best proof of concept is going to be going to a customer that has an immediate problem and solving that for them. And then when you've got that proof point, makes it a lot easier to go to large organizations and have those conversations and show what you've done. So
No doubt. If you can deliver you still have to deliver, your solution still has to work in order to be able to parlay kind of a turnaround type of situation into a bit more business within an organization. That goes without saying. The innovation has to work and have an impact. But yes, it opens up many. If you can be successful in turning around an otherwise difficult or troubled project, then you will advance in that client exponentially faster than trying to bang on the door of the biggest projects and the most high profile projects.
yeah, very counterintuitive and makes perfect sense. So thank you for sharing those two important insights with us today and for joining us. We'll announce our next Champions of Change conversation on LinkedIn. In the meantime, you can pre-order your copy of No Fear, No Failure on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookshop.org.